Hey, this is Tiqqle, and in this video, we're going over all the leveling builds that you could go for Enhanced or Ellie, and which ones I think are going to be the best going into Dragonflight. We're going to be leveling and questing once again. If you're doing dungeons, there's some dungeon builds you could be using similar to what's recommended at endgame for Mythic Plus, sure, but this is for you if you're going to be out there running quests by yourself, with someone else, going point to point, learning the story, and that's actually how I like to play the game, especially the new expansions to get into the story, etc. We can sweat as much as we want, but I think, that's what I'm into. So I'll just go ahead and just let you know my recommendation is for Enhanced Shaman. That is the spec that I do think will be the fastest while leveling. I know that a lot of people have been pretty excited about Enhanced going into Dragonflight, but let me go ahead and show you the spec one piece at a time. So first, the Shaman points. Let's go over those first. Number one, I'll just call out certain sections. Obviously, the trees are massive, but I'm going for speed, I'm going for utility, and I'm going for anything that can help me in a pinch. So up here, I'm going Earth Ellie. Yes, I am. Because why? If you do a huge pack pull, that'll be a great way to group them all up and then AoE them down, even with Enhanced. I'm going some of these basic things like Tremor. I'm not really doing that for a Tremor. I'm actually doing it so I can go down this tree. But I have, Wall. I'm going Spirit Wolf. This is critical because, as you know, running around questing, you want to go fast. You don't want to go slow. And we already have Ghost Wolf, so why not add 20% more movement speed to it? So Spirit Wolf, in case we have to go spot to spot. Now, you will be mounting up. Obviously, we're going to be dragon riding, so that you'll be moving spot to spot pretty easily. But still, anytime you're on the ground, Ghost Wolf form, it will give you a little bit of increased speed. Otherwise, I go Purge because a lot of times while you're leveling, if you run into mobs that have a buff up or a shield up or something that's making them very strong, you can Purge that off just in case. Otherwise, Frost Shock, all this other stuff is very typical. I am going Windrush Totem. This just is some way for me to, again, move faster when I'm in the capital city, when I'm moving around the plains, when I'm fighting mobs to mobs. It'll just make me go a little bit faster. I'm going Nature's Guardian, as if my health drops below 35%, I'll get instantly healed. This is an oh no, way that I can keep myself alive. I am going Improved Lightning Bolt. I do like Enhance because Enhance is, you don't ever have to cast. And you can just keep running through, keep range tagging things, keep range Ellie blasting mobs for half their health, and have a lot of power behind that. And then if you do have to DPS a big mob, or an elite or something like that, you have cooldowns and stuff, and the enhanced tree will go over next, and I'll show you how that can be used. I am going Nature Swiftness. Again, this will be like an button. If I use this, and then I could use a heal on myself, or I could use this and use Ellie Blast as a DPS or another way to get ranged abilities, tagging mobs. I really believe in, if you're trying to kill, let's say 10 mobs that are spread out, you have to tag them. You have to throw an Earthbind Totem at one. Earthbind Totem won't do any damage, but it will aggro them. You can Flame Shock one, then you could Nature Swiftness Ellie Blast one, right? And so that's a way that you can gather mobs pretty quickly, and they'll kind of run towards you and group up, and then you can AoE them down, as we'll talk about. I have Thunderstorm here. I just love Thunderstorm, but it also allows you, like, in case of an moment, you can knock people back, as well as Lightning Lasso. Lightning Lasso, you might say, oh, this doesn't do that much damage, Tiqqle. Well, guess what? I can run by a mob, Lightning Lasso, kill them, and keep moving. So this is actually something that I use to run and gun, more than just saying that it does good damage. On the right side of the tree, I am going, of course, the movement speed abilities here. Increased crit, movement speed, and Ghost Wolf, of course. I'm not really going to min-max this, having 3 or more totems active. I tried to do this before recording this video. It is very hard to do on an Enhance or an Ellie Shaman. I think this is only really viable on a Resto Shaman. I really, really sweated for this one, and I just couldn't find value. I am recommending you go Spirit Walk. Why? Everyone loves Gust of Wind. I love Gust of Wind. I'm so happy that it's back, but Spirit Walk actually is a pretty long 8 seconds, 60% increased movement speed on top of your Ghost Wolf, on top of everything else that I'm going to show you too, like the PvP talent if you go War Mode. Which is your choice, your bold choice. So I definitely recommend Spirit Walk. Now, if you find that while questing, you're jumping off a lot of cliffs. So if you're jumping off a lot of cliffs, you can use Gust of Wind so that if you jump off a cliff, you Gust of Wind before you hit the ground, you won't take any fall damage. But I would also recommend that you go to the store and you pick up some Goblin Gliders, because Goblin Gliders will help do the same effect. So if you find that you're jumping off a lot of cliffs, or your Dragon Soaring isn't helping out, you can go to Gust of Wind. But otherwise, Spirit Walk, you get a lot more bang for the buck. I'm also recommending Surging Shields. This will allow it so that if you have, like, you pull 10 mobs, if they're meleeing you, right, they're going to be giving you Maelstrom weapon stacks, and that's huge. I don't care about the damage that much. I think that's still teeny tiny, but getting Maelstrom stacks is the key for an enhancement shaman to keep running and gunning. I also think, by the way, one other big aspect of this is if you're an enhanced main, I'm actually including a lot of things in this build that you need to try out and explore, because this is what you might be using in Mythic Pluses or in raids. I'm actually including some other stuff, which we'll talk about, to see how it feels, because this is a great time as you're leveling to feel out the class, feel out the different abilities and talents. Now, over in the enhanced tree, let's go ahead and show that. In this tree, you might say, wow, Tiqqle, this is interesting, because you're going Hailstorm? You're going Ice Strike? Yes, because I think it's two things. Number one, it actually does a ton of damage. You can pull multiple mobs. You can AoE cleave them down with Ice Strike buff, which buffs your Frost Shock, as well as your Hailstorm, which will make your Frost Shock do significant damage. You can start hitting mobs for 20k plus with those spreading Frost Shocks. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to focus on this. I don't think you do at all. You can actually stick to single target, but single targeting through your casts, your Lightning Bolts, and your LA Blast. And I'll show you why this build is a little cheeky on that in just a second. So anyway, the top section, very standard, right? You have Lava Lash, you have, you know, all your buffs, all that. I am suggesting Feral Lunge. This will allow you to charge to targets. Again, it will let you round up mobs faster, as well as keep your high mobility. Again, Ice Strike, Hailstorm for the AoE cleaving, as well as Molten Assault, which will make your Flame Shock spread. By the way, I did test Hailstorm versus Fire Nova. I know someone's going to comment about this. Fire Nova does about 5k damage per mob hit. And of course, you could stack that with each other. But Hailstorm just hits for 20k with Ice Strikes. It just crushes. So I just recommend it's much easier to do this than to worry about spreading Flame Shocks, etc., and so on. Sunder obviously does big damage. I am going Ancestral Wolf Affinity, and this is because this will allow you to use, Wind Rush Totem while you're in Ghost Wolf, so you can keep your 20% increased movement speed, place it down, and keep zooming along. In addition, I do have Doom Winds. Doom Winds while leveling might not be that great, but if you fight a big mob, this will allow you to have great single target damage. It'll allow you to actually have a cooldown that you can press that even though for 8 seconds, it'll still give you that increased damage, which will help you burst that thing down. And also, I think it's worth getting used to this because it is different. I know people have been playing in the pre-patch, but you'll continue to practice on that. I do have Crash Lightning here. Again, typical, like, kind of boilerplate for us. I do have, the Affinity. I talked about Storm's Wrath. LA Blast. This is your big burst damage dealer. I recommend this. And again, you can use it with Nature's Swiftness. It won't be buffed, but you can use it. I do have Doggos because that'll give you more Maelstrom Weapon. And this build's really about building up a lot of Maelstrom Weapons, keeping mobile, tagging stuff. And the reason, the core of this build is around Primordial Wave. I know. I don't like that it's still in the game either. I wish it would be called Elemental Wave, reskinned, etc. But here's the deal. It is good because of this. Primal Maelstrom. A Primordial Wave generates 5 stacks of Maelstrom. And I can't go any further in this. I can't get 10 stacks, but I would. And I recommend you do that as you level. Because why am I saying that? Well, guess what? If I run into a pack of mobs, I instantly throw this out. I Flame Shock 1, throw this out. And then I can instantly have Maelstrom rolling, and I can Lightning Bolt, which will cleave on those mobs. It'll do a significant amount of damage, and that's how I would open up every fight. And I'll hit a dummy here. I'll show you how that looks like. But getting this instant 5 stacks is a great way to get rolling. Enhancement Shamans, as we all know now, having Elemental Blast is great, but you have to ramp up to use it. And often with mobs, you have to sit there. You have to wait. Your Storm Strikes have to generate enough, or your melees have to generate enough Maelstrom stacks to be able to spend it. Now, you can instantly cast it and instantly spend it right away. You could use it as a Chain Lightning to grab a pack of mobs off to the left or whatever you want, but the next Lightning Bolt you will be using will pump people. So that's what I recommend. I also have Elemental Assault. Again, this is something that I think is going to be pretty important that helps you generate Maelstrom Weapon every time you Storm Strike. Has a 50% for now until we get 2 points in it to generate Maelstrom Weapon. And I also recommend, so that's the build, by the way. That's just it. I'm skipping Storm Flurry. I'm skipping Wind Fury. I don't think it's worth pressing that button every time, every pack of mobs you go to. Storm Strikes aren't going to be the way that you're going to be killing most mobs. The AoE, you're not going to be AoEing enough. I do love Deeply Rooted, but I don't think that's going to be quite key enough. I recommend as you start to get points, I would get 1 point into Primal Maelstrom immediately. The next point, I'd probably go over to Swirling Maelstrom as well. It'll help you AoE. After that, I'd go down to Legacy of the Frost Witch and Elemental Assault. I would get those because it'll make things feel even more fluid. And somehow, I wish we could get to that Deeply Rooted, but not for leveling, probably. But that's basically the build, and that's what I would recommend to do with your next points. I do think this will be faster than Ellie, because Ellie, you have to run up to the mobs. You can tag them one by one, spamming Frost Shocks, right, or Flame Shock, right? But then you have to stand there and cast, generate Maelstrom, and then dump it, right? And we'll go over the build for Ellie, which is pretty cool. I do think it's very fun, but let me just go over this first. For War Mode. War Mode, if you choose to use it, these are the things I recommend to use it on for your PvP, for leveling. Again, if you are going War Mode just to level, this is what I recommend. If you're going War Mode to PvP, I would recommend Grounding Totem and some other things, but this is actually, Spectral Recovery is, again, for movement speed, running around those towns, going faster, going point to point, helps you. I'm recommending Shamanism, and allows you to use Bloodlust every 60 seconds. I wish this could be in the tree. I really do. But anyway, that's that. And so you can use this on yourself and have Bloodlust and like burst a lot. And then you Counter-Strike Totem, which is kind of a meme, but I always recommend it for leveling. If you pull a huge pack of mobs, throw it on the ground. The mobs will never target it from my experience, and it'll just give you free damage. The mobs will just do damage to themselves. It's pretty useful, and it's kind of a meme. So that's what I would recommend. But again, this build's about mobility. This build is about getting those casts out and dumpstering people at range, even though you're an enhance and you're moving pretty quick. So let me just show you what that looks like again, because with this build, because I'll do it on 3 mobs here. But again, if I had to run up on a pack of mobs as you're leveling, right? I would probably I can throw Counter Strike down, but it won't do anything. If I was running up and I had nothing, I was starting from 0 Maelstrom, etc. I just throw out Primordial, and then I can instantly put another, Lightning Bolt, and then even before I get there, I can Lightning Bolt and do pretty big damage, and then run up to them, and then I can use my other buttons. And then, oh wow, because I pressed Lightning Bolt, I have Hailstorm. So let me Ice Strike. Now I got the 2 buffs. And then spend a spender, 20k burst. And that's just for this pack. This pack dies, I go on to the next one. And again, Primordial Wave, 45-second cooldown. So you're going to have it up pack to pack, and it's a great way to get moving. I can go to the next pack with 7 stacks of Maelstrom. Strongly recommend that you try that out. And by the way, if you are interested in my weak aura pack here, I will give the link, because some people, I would go to Luxthos. I would take his. But if you want just this simple setup that I have, I will put the link down below to my Wago, so that you can download it for yourself. So that's the deal. Again, if I was running to the next pack, I might use a spender first, and then I might Primordial. Then I finally reach them, and then by then I can Ice Strike, Frost Shock. They're dead. You're just gonna run over stuff. You're just gonna run it down. So that's what I would recommend. Again, using the Frost Shocks are actually just surprising amount of damage. Again, the Cleaving Lightning Bolts hit for 33k plus. I mean, it's huge damage from Primordial. Frost Shocks, again, all this is instant. You didn't see me cast a single thing. LA Blast, still chunking over 30k. And that's what it's about. Unfortunately, Storm Strike, you're barely going to use it. You might use it to generate some Maelstrom if they reach you, but I recommend everything else, and that's that. So that's the build for Enhance. Let's switch over to Ellie. Let me show you what that's about in case you're hard set on one of the most fun classes in the game beyond Enhance, which is Elemental Shaman. All right, Elemental Shaman, it's good to see you. You made it. You might already look at my bar and you might go, God dang it, Tiqqle, what have you done? Well, I got some fun things for you. I'm really excited about it. Let's go over the Shaman side first. Shaman side first. Basically, exactly the same thing I just talked about for Enhance, but if you skip to this part, I'm just going to, again, Earth Ellie, movement speed on your Ghost Wolf. You still have Frost Shot because it's good for spamming things. It doesn't have a cooldown as Ellie, and you can just tag mobs. Movement speed, Thunderstorm, Lightning Lasso, all the things that we love. And I am recommending Spirit Walk because, again, movement speed is better than Gust of Wind unless you're jumping off cliffs. Then you want that. Now, in the Ellie tree, let's go ahead and look at what we got because you might be a little surprised to see it. Now, again, my goal when I'm leveling is I want to be as mobile as possible. I want to be as least amount of casts as possible. So this is the build that I'm recommending. It's actually very similar to the PvP build that I have been loving in pre-patch, and I think will be such a banger when it comes to Dragonflight solo queue in particular. Now let's just go ahead and look into it. Elemental Fury, all this stuff is, I'm not going to go over this. You have Earthquake, all this stuff. I am recommending that you do go for the heal stuff, because in the case that you are starting to get overwhelmed, unlike Enhance, you don't have instant cast heals. You got to cast on yourself. And if you do, guess what? You better get a little bit of a boost there. So I recommend grabbing this. I recommend grabbing this. This is increased healing crits as well as increased heal on yourself. Now, after that, you might notice that I am going to the right side of the tree, buffing those lava bursts, because we love meatballs, okay? And basically, Lava Surge, increasing the lava burst damage, faster flame shocks, making your flame tongue actually useful. I'm not going to talk about the thing in the bottom right yet. I'm going Aftershock, and why am I doing this? I'm doing this because, to be honest with you, I don't think you're going to... My goal shouldn't be to Earthshock a lot. If I'm running and I'm gunning, my goal is not to Earthshock a lot. So if I do build the Maelstrom, I want to be able to potentially retain that, so I can do it more damage and more instant casts at range, right? That's everything I've been talking about for leveling, and just having it be easier out in the world. Now I am going, so that's all of that. So that's why I'm going Aftershock versus like increasing your damage or something, because after you kill a mob, you might have some downtime or whatever. Now Ice Fury, some people might be surprised here. If you haven't been playing much in the pre-patch, or you haven't been peeping out this and the talent below it, you're missing out. Ice Fury, not back in terms of the damage of Ice Fury, but the Frost Shocks are feeling good. And so Ice Fury, again, and it also generates a ton of Maelstrom. I don't think there's a single other ability in the game that generates as much Maelstrom as Ice Fury. I recommend if you're walking up on a mob, or if you Flame Shock it is fine, or even the first that cast you should use is Ice Fury, generating 25 Maelstrom plus additional if it overloads. Like, that's huge. So that'll help your Earth Shocks and stuff, which is again instant cast, which is what we're all about when we're leveling. We're running, we're gunning. So Ice Fury. Then this, which is also huge, which is casting Frost Shocks, increases the damage of your next lava burst. So this is actually something you can actually use without casting Ice Fury. It just gives me this buff, and that buff is on me, so it doesn't matter what I Frost Shock. And I also have that weak core. Again, my weak core is going to be linked below. So that's also another big thing, because again, we're going to be running, we're going to be gunning with those lava bursts. Okay, this is all about meatballs. I did go Eye of the Storm here for decreased Maelstrom cost of Earthshock and Earthquake, but again, that's if you get big mob packs together, or you just want to get those Earthshocks out. Now, the two bottom parts are the Primordial Path, which I'll talk about, but I also want to talk about this, Liquid Magma Totem. I'm actually choosing this for two reasons. Number one, you might not know this, but they reworked it so that when you press it, it does okay damage, but it also spreads Flame Shock. So there is a target cap, I believe, which is okay. Flame Shock, yeah, applying Flame Shock to 3 enemies. So still, when you're leveling, you probably don't have more than that. So that's a great way to get the ball going immediately with Flame Shock spread. And then the damage it does is not amazing, but it's not terrible. So that's why I recommend that, is to spread the Flame Shocks immediately. And then it also kind of works into your Primordial Wave. So let's say, I walk up on a pack, and the cooldown's not back. But if I walk up on a pack, I use my totem. The totem gives me spreading Flame Shocks. And then what I can do is go for the Primordial stuff. So the Primordial stuff, again, it's going to apply Flame Shock, which is great. It's also going to make it so my next Lava Burst is going to hit everyone that's Flame Shock. And then this part, Rolling Magma, Lava Burst, and Lava Burst Overload reduces the cooldown of Primordial, which is great. Makes me be able to do this more. But really what you want is Primordial Surge. Casting Primordial Wave triggers Lava Surge immediately, and every 3 seconds for 12 seconds. And it increases the damage of that next Lava Burst. So let's say, for example, we're like, I walk up on this pack of 3, and I go, all right, I'm going to Flame Shock this one over here. Oh, that didn't work. Flame Shock this one right here. I'm going to Primordial this one way back there, and then I'm going to, I'll Sky Fury, and then I'll Lava Burst. You just get big Lava Bursts immediately, and you start to get procs, and you're like, oh, I don't even need to cast Lightning Bolt ever! And if you want to, what I should have done is I should have Frost Shocked first, and then done Lava Burst. So one of the reasons I'm actually recommending that you go Flux Melting is you got to get used to doing this. You got to get used to doing this. Increases the damage by 20%, keep that buff up, then you can use those Lava Bursts. And that's what it's going to be about. So again, if I walk up on this pack, Flame Shock you, I walk up on this pack, I go, hey, what's up? I go Frost Shock first, spread the Lava Burst love. Dude, I got it. Yeah, I can Earthquake if I want. And just start chucking. And as you start chucking, you're going to see the Primordial Wave is just going to keep going down in cooldown. It's just going to keep going down and down and down. And this way I'm just, keeping as instant cast as possible. The Frost Shocks are instant, the Lava Burst procs are instant, and again, if I were to use Ice Fury, like a good boy, I would actually use Frost Shock, and Frost Shocks are actually going to do really good damage. They do, what is it, 10k? I have 10ks right now. 10ks is let's just see. What is this normal Lava Burst hitting for? 15k. So 10ks is actually really good for a Frost Shock buffed by that. So I recommend give it a try. So I think there's going to be some haters out there about this a little bit, but if I Frost Shock Lava Burst, you're just going to crush them. You're going to crush them because the same thing happens in PvP. You start crushing them with 25k Lava Burst, hitting many men. I mean, it's pretty great. I got to say, I'm really happy with this build. I know there's some Lava Burst builds, you know, again, for Mythic Plus coming out, which are apparently very exciting. Haven't had a chance to try it myself. But the other thing I'll say is that first talents you get, put it in Deeply Rooted. That will make your day. You'll have a great time. Put it in this. And then from there, you know, again, you could go down to Magma Chamber because that's a buff on you. You could go down then to Wind Speakers. That's probably what I would do is go bing, bang, boom, and then go from there. But I am sad that I'm not using Stormkeeper. I'm also sad I'm not using Flash of Lightning because Flash of Lightning is one of the coolest abilities, I think, in the game. But that's the dealio. That's the build I would say. And then again, Counter-Strike Totem for the memes. And before you do your burst, before you start lava bursting, for better or worse, place that Sky Fury down. You know, place it down so that you can get the extra little amp, and you start crushing many men. That's what it's about. That is what it's about. So that's that. That's what I would say. I don't think Ellie will be that much slower or that much different than Enhance for leveling. And again, I think, you know, both will be fine. There's no problem with either. And as you have seen, I have literally not casted a single ability through this. The only thing I have casted, okay, the single ability is Ice Fury. Otherwise, everything else has been instant cast pretty much. So just keep that in mind. So that's the builds. That's what hopefully help you level. I recommend absolutely get some Goblin Gliders. I've stocked up. Go ahead. I would also seriously, I recommend this all the time, get some health potions. Health potions are underrated. I have 88. I'll probably get some more. They are underrated. You want to get these in case you get into like a little bit of a pickle. And that's it. So guys, with that being said, that's my leveling guides for Dragonflight. I'm really excited. I'll be streaming the launch day, and then I have to go out of town for work, unfortunately. But then when I come back at the weekend, we'll be streaming all weekend of Dragonflight Adventure. Appreciate all the love and support. Be sure to hit that sub button and that like button below the video, and we'll see you in the next one. And as we make more guides for Enhance and Ellie coming into Dragonflight, we'll see you later. Take care, everybody.